Today is the first practice of the 2025 Reeces Senior Bowl. Over the next 72 hours, NFL scouts around the entire league will be busy. These are three of the biggest scouting days of the entire year, and it means that NFL draft season is officially underway. By the time I get this video out, I will already be watching the first Senior Bowl practice of the year, scouting this year's draft class heavily and focusing on the trenches. Today, I wanted to give you my players to watch, guys that Ryan Poles will definitely have his eyes on. I'll be back tonight breaking down my takeaways and standouts from day one of practice. I'll be watching practice in its entirety, but you can catch some of it live on NFL Network, so don't miss that if you do want to watch. But without further ado, here is my 2025 Chicago Bears Senior Bowl watch list. I'm focusing almost exclusively on the trenches this year, although, as always, I will mention a couple of players that stand out. First up, we're digging deep into the offensive line, and the prospect that I was most interested to see might have been West Virginia's left tackle Wyatt Milam, a top level college tackle who is probably going to have to play guard in the NFL. Unfortunately, we had bad news for Milam, as he already measured in with just barely 32-inch arm length. Think back to 2 years ago. Peter Skoronsky and the awesome tackle from Northwestern, he had 32-inch arms, and he was moved inside to guard in the NFL. Milam has this 1 week at practice to prove he could possibly play tackle at the next level. But there are multiple offensive linemen in the same position. Another tackle that was in the same boat is Arizona's Jonah Savi Ianaya, another awesome college tackle prospect who scouts thought might be moved inside to guard at the next level due to his arm length. However, his official measurements blew that theory out of the water. He has 34.5-inch arms, and he could stay at tackle in the NFL. This is a big week for the Arizona tackle in Mobile. Same story for the Missouri tackle, though. Armon Mimbu. His arm length was just over 33 inches, just meeting the minimum requirements. How he handles himself against these pass rushers will go a long way in determining if he can stay at tackle at the next level. And then one more tackle in a similar boat is William and Mary's Charles Grant. But then I have two intriguing center prospects to keep an eye on as well. Georgia's Jared Wilson is the biggest name on the list, but he was absent during measurements. We find out today if he's practicing or not. He's the top center in the draft right now. Meanwhile, Caleb's former teammate Jonah Monheim will be practicing. I'll be keeping a close eye on him. And then lastly, on offense, I listed a couple of running backs to keep an eye on. It's a super talented running back class. But onto the defensive side of the ball, where Dion Walker measured in as an absolute freak. 6'7", 341 pounds. This is my number one player to watch heading into the draft week on the defensive side of the ball. A guy who could absolutely change the dynamic of our defensive line. But these defensive line prospects are incredibly impressive. This is an awesome year for the D line. I remember telling you guys about it all year last year when I was talking about how special the wide receiver class was. But there are three other big time prospects that I'll be watching closely. Ole Miss's pass rusher Princely Umana and then Texas A&M's Nick Scourton and Shamar Stewart. Unfortunately, late news did break that Shamar Stewart is a late scratch from the event. He is a beast, and it's sad I won't get to see him. But then another prospect that has really been heating up and scouts have been talking about really disappointed me during weigh-ins. Marshall's Mike Green, an edge rusher that I really like, weighing in at just 236 pounds with 32-inch arms and small sub 8-inch hands as well. I like Mike Green, but his testing numbers did not help him, and he's really going to have a big week at the Senior Bowl to keep from falling down draft boards. And it also sounds like LSU's Savion Jones will be skipping this week as well. Same with Ole Miss's stud D tackle Walter Nolan, two other guys I was excited to see. But this year's talent on the defensive line simply does not disappoint. Even with the guys missing the event, there are still a ton of talented prospects. Donovan Ezeruku from Boston College is another guy that fits that bill. He comes in a bit short at 6'2", but he has 34 plus inch arms and he was incredibly productive this season. Don't sleep on Boston College's edge rusher. And then two more defensive line prospects to keep an eye on: Michigan's undersized pass rusher Josiah Stewart and Toledo's sleeper defensive lineman Darius Alexander. So far, the list of players not participating in this year's Senior Bowl continues growing. Shamar Stewart, Jack Sawyer, Walter Nolan, Donovan Jackson, Savion Jones, and Xavier Watts are among the biggest names that will not be participating. I plan on covering every day of practice and potentially streaming live for the game this weekend to give my takeaways. And I should also have more in depth breakdowns of the entire Senior Bowl week over on Swift Scouting Network. Check that out if you want more draft coverage. I appreciate everyone who watches. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned, and until next time, bear down.